Hello, everyone. So, I'm going to try. This ain't perfect. I don't ever admit to being perfect, but I'm going to try to use this in general and see where I come up with. Okay? Now, typically speaking, I'm not a content creator in the sense that like Markiplier or even smaller creators would be recognized of. However, I have had people tell me I should be doing content creation. I've had people try to tell me that I should try doing content. I don't think I'm a content creator, but if people want to see stuff from me or see my general day-to-day life and thoughts, well, I've got this. I just haven't used it that often. So, why not make the most of it? So, as of right now, as we are currently speaking, it is March 9th, and I am stuck in my house until the 21st. I'm stuck until in my house in the 21st because my car is currently in the shop. Normally, I would talk about my day work or some of my other projects, which I will get to at a later date. However, at this time, I don't really have any proper finances to run those projects or even make progress on those projects. So, at the time of this recording, it's gonna be whatever I can do at the for the most part. So, we're gonna talk about game development. I've had a slight interest in game development since I was a little kid, up into like early teenager years, because I started playing World of Warcraft and thought, you know, I could probably one day make a game. Fast forward 15 years later, in my early 30s, I've started to play around with it a little bit. I've learned the process and I've come to respect the many fine men and women who go into the game dev industry to make games, and even programmers in general to a subcontext. So let's talk about what I know about game development and how video games work with a simple demonstration. So this simple demonstration is going to generally be about character movement, and this is just like the bare bones. This is a bare bones environment, and what you can essentially get from the literal bare minimum effort to get a box moving. And I'm going to show you something first that this should not move at all. I'm pretty positive it should not move at all, considering there is no script on here. Okay, so I've confirmed it doesn't move. So let's start talking about what is going on here, why you see this kind of third person view, and then you saw what would have actually been in the game itself. So this is a general plane. It's just like a flat piece of paper kind of object. And if we look over to the right, we're going to look at what is called the inspector. Now, this is inside Unity. I don't use Unreal Engine. I've heard it's about 10 times harder to learn than Unity, considering C++ is a language that is a monster and a half to learn. And so I have decided to stick with Unity because of its user friendliness. Now, the thing that goes into how all this works is usually found in the inspector. So on the plane, the inspector has a transform, a mesh filter, a mesh renderer, a mesh collider. However, if we go to our box, we have a box collider. Now, if I am familiar with everything going on here, if I give this box collider a rigid body should give it physics properties. Mass drag, angular drag, gravity, so on and so forth. Now, going into this, he now has mass. That's why he dropped down a little bit. But he still can't move because he doesn't have any movement. So how you get movement in a box in a game like Unity is pretty straightforward. You got to use something called scripts. C# is a programming language that is relatively easy to learn for the general user. C++, to a degree, can be, but it's more, it's a little bit more complicated and engaging as far as the base content. I wrote all this out myself, so I can explain this in great detail. So this will get that character moving, so I'm going to demonstrate that, and then I'm going to talk about that script for a minute and explain what all that now means. You see the character is moving, so I am going to explain how that works. So, and I will also explain some resources to be able to do something as simple as this, and then eventually get to what maybe you have your own projects. Free resources, absolutely free. There's nothing, you don't got to pay $1 for anything that I am doing here. Unity is free, the learning will be free, everything will be free. Even this program here, which is known as God, I'm horrible with this. Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. The base reason I am doing this is because video game development is easy to do. It's very affordable. If you're willing to learn and you don't want to go to college, which I don't blame some people if they don't want to spend $20,000 on a degree they may never ever make a profit off of. Because I've got my own beliefs in college education these days, considering I have seen enough college kids go off from college and then never fully do anything with their degrees. It's kind of a stigmatism to me to not want to engage in college degree related courses. However, I do like to learn things that are of a college level education. Programming, for example, or chemistry, engineering. I like to learn these things because I am bored. But boredom plus lack of money equals you're learning pretty much by yourself, with minimal financial investment in said resources. So finding these resources free is a very important thing when it comes to doing this. So now, in doing that, I'm going to show you how this script works, and then I will show you where you can learn to do the basics of this yourself, and then more. So the first thing you have to understand about C# is that it is known as an object-oriented programming language. You will see that everything in here has a structure to it. And let's start with this first structure here. This is this is based off of a class known as MonoBehavior. Thank you, cat. There's a cat in my background. He's being a pain in my ass. For the time being. I love him, but he's being a pain in my ass. Anyways, so MonoBehavior is the first thing that you have to understand is the base class, which every other Unity script derives off of. A majority of them derive off of MonoBehavior. And Inside mono behavior is basically these two, I believe these are semicolons. I want to believe they're the correct wording is. This is how you start and end um, code blocks within your Unity script. So the next thing you have to look up is these floats. What are these floats? These are values that will come into later functions. They can have number values attached to them, and they can be straight words. And as we go down to the next block, we have to look at void update, which is a update void update. It is a block of code that is called every frame rate, every second, every frame per second, basically. Um, so in this void update, this block of code starts running. This is the chunk of your character movement here. So if we look at horizontal input is referring to this float here. This is how easy programming can be for most people. Using the right work environment, this is how easy programming is. So horizontal environment or horizontal input equals input slash get access. What is input slash get access? It is referring to the input system. This input dot get access. Get access is the value that we give it. So when we go inside of the Unity engine, and you'll have to ignore me for a second because I am not familiar with finding this bit here, but there should be a section in here. If I use what my Job Corps teacher taught me, we will get this done. It is not in preferences. Project settings. Okay. Project settings / input manager. Input manager is where we are deriving our input from. The get access is a subpart of input, which it is a value. There is some math, but it's not your typical 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4 type math. And you'll find that out very quickly when I get down here. But input.get access. Get access is getting the access of the, where is it? Input manager. Horizontal and vertical in this case. Horizontal and vertical. Jump, however, is still in here. It is just not one of those. It's down here. And now that I've explained this bit of code, we can talk about this bit of code. And this is where the math gets into. Transform.translate. What does transform.translate relate to? Well, when we go back to our engine here, this is how easy it is to kind of navigate some of this stuff. And you can start to see the workflow, how it works. So if we look over in the Spectre, the only thing we have transform related to is this transform function here. Transform.translate. Translate is moves the transform in the direction and distance of the translation. Hence, right here. Now, Vector 3. What is Vector 3? It's a representation of 3D vectors and points. Well, that doesn't help us, but there is some graphics card. There's some NVIDIA and AMD and probably some Unity-related resources that would explain what a Vector 3 is. Basically, a Vector 2 is 2D space, and a Vector 3 is 3D space. Let's just dumb it down here. So, Vector 3 dot right, dot forward, and dot up. What do these mean? Well, right is going, in the 1 in that. Forward is going in that, and up is going in that. Now, I've probably butchered this, so Don't get mad at me. It works. The script works. That's what matters. But if I wanted to clean it up, that would be nice. But anyways, get it. Get to notice I'm a little touched. Moving on from the crazy there, we go to position and we go X, Y, and Z. X, Y. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm going to get dogged at in the comments below. And Z! We're just going to go X, Y, Z! Don't kill me. Anyways, moving on. So, horizontal input is referring to this horizontal input, which is the get access horizontal from the input manager, which is the value we had to create. If we do not create this value here, this float, which represents this value, you cannot use this value here as the value, because as you can see, this is not lighting up and this is not lighting up. But if I light up this horizontal input, it works, because this is related to the input manager's horizontal and vertical. And a fun little thing about C#, it's case sensitive. So that's why some words are not capitalized and others are, because some are not. Some of these are not baked into Unity's fork of the C# language with its own class and function derivatives. Like speed is undercased because it is not a class or a function, yet time.delta time is. What is time.delta time? It is a function that is perceiving time as a frame per second, as in the clock second in actual real time, not the computer's ability via the CPU. If I take time.delta time away, this will actually go by my CPU's clock speed rather than a traditional clock, which is what we know how time moves. I could demonstrate that if you want, but let's actually go into the math in all this. So vector3.right times horizontal input times time.delta time times speed equals the movement you get. How do you adjust speed in this? Well, you can't adjust for vector3.right, and you can't adjust for horizontal input. You can't adjust speed by time.delta time, because this is referring to our actual time in physical space in the real world versus our CPU. This is the translation telling the program that don't run by the CPU's clock, but run by a traditional human clock, so we can actually see things. You adjust by speed. So if I go 100 in here, this should theoretically move faster. Right. So let's go down to 5 here for a second and show how this interesting script works. So if you look at horizontal input, it is going to a value between 1 and -1. 1 being right and -1 being left. Same thing with vertical input. And if I jump, which is spacebar, by the way, it's giving an actual representation of movement going up. Granted, that's kind of the basics to movement. Now, there is some things that are going to go on if I adjust this to 10 and go up. See, there's a bit of issues going on here. One, he fell over, because you can see how he's going down. He's actually upside down now. So there's a bit of there's a bit of an issue here, and you don't realize it because it's a square. Um, this is the like bare bones minimum to getting character movement inside a video game. There are some things I can build on top of this, which I will over time for my project that I am working on while I'm stuck in my house until the 21st. And then there's essentially what I will come up with by the end of my project, which should be, and I'm hoping it should be, a general action platformer. That's the goal, is an action platformer. As cheap as humanly possible. But as of right now, this is a demonstration of how game development works from the bare bones minimum. Now, I did mention I would be showing some free resources here. There's the cat, which I will get to in just a moment. Come here, sir. Come on. You will probably see the cat later in later videos. His name is Cub. He is a bit of an older kitty. I got him in 2013. He's a bit older, so he's a little more needy than your usual kitty. So, moving on. This is Unity Learn. It's learn.unity.com. It's free to anyone who has a Unity account. You can make one for free. And all you're doing is going to Unity Learn, which we're going to go back to the first page. This is what you normally see when you go into this. And you'll learn that a lot of the stuff that you want to learn about Unity and then some more is here. There are all kinds of resources here. This is all absolutely free, made by Unity. And this is overall a very this is a curated site. They do update this occasionally, and it should serve purposes into getting things going. If you're watching YouTube videos and you're learning from YouTube videos, that's great and all. But a lot of YouTubers, what they don't understand or explain is that certain things have been updated and changed. I've actually gone on to like other YouTube channels that talk about new ways to do character input, and it's totally different from what I know. And here's the thing. Start with the basics, upgrade from there. Once you're familiar with using these new systems, go from there. Don't start with something that's totally brand new and it might be easier if the engine doesn't already pre-provide it and pre-recommend it. So what I am saying in this case is learn from the Unity, the developer of Unity itself. Take what you know from them, and then if they've already implemented a new system, go on to that newer system, but go on to it knowing that if you can't make that work, you can make the old input system work because they give clear documentation on how to use that input system. Moving on, I'll go over kind of what I know and what I have already done, just so you know I'm not, completely full of bullshit. So this is my personal profile with the Unity Learn, and I do have this getting started with Unity. I have done some of the tutorials. I've done a fair bit of them. And I haven't talked about things like spawning in, or what Unity would call instantiate, and if functions on how to, say, kill an enemy, such as in a platformer. I have not talked about if functions, and I have not talked about anything in greater detail. For those that are watching this video in the hopes that I am going to post more game making related content, I would not get your immediate hopes up. This is a general use channel that I am using to talk about what I do in my day-to-day life projects and general topics that I am going on inside my head, essentially. I am not a game dev creator. I, I'm just a guy who spends his time bored out of his mind and post content. It's just right now one of the things I can work on, one of the things that I have the ability to work on is moving a square on a platform that looks horrible. That looks absolutely god awful horrible. Um, moving a square on a plane and talking about his plans to potentially make a platformer, knowing that somewhere down the line his mental health will eventually get in the way and he will get sidetracked. But he's going to try really, really hard because he has nothing else to do until the 21st. Anyways, my name is Josh. I hope my fun little video had helped. I hope that my content intrigues you just a little bit, and maybe you'll stick around for some of my more real life related things, like me working on my car, talking about what I do in my day to day job, and going on from there. In the meantime, I am going to leave you be, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care and have a great day. Bye bye now.